Here's a quick preview of what's stirring for us this week. The week opens with the moon in Libra trying to broker harmony, but it keeps running into walls. It's a tense opposition to Saturn setting the tone for Monday. Tuesday brings friction between the heart and the mind as the moon squares off with Mercury and Jupiter, followed by a long void of course stretch. Wednesday, the moon drops into Scorpio and the whole emotional temperature of our week changes. This is where the real material lives. Thursday and Friday keep us in Scorpio's depths, working through those old wounds, desire, and the parts of ourselves we don't usually show. The moon shifts into expansive Sagittarius by midday Friday, trining nearly everything in sight. Saturday brings a notably long void of course period, over a full day, asking us to simply rest in not knowing. We close the week with Venus blessing devotion and wisdom, and Mars finally leaving Taurus for the quicksilver energy of Gemini. So let's get into the big picture. Hello, and welcome back, Cosmic Crew. I'm Stephanie from Immersive Spirit, and this is your astrological forecast for the week of June 22nd through June 28th. And it's a week that asks us to stop settling for the polite version of peace and actually go looking for the real thing. This week's central transit story is really a story in three acts. We begin in Libra, the sign of relationship and aesthetic balance, but Libra this week isn't getting an easy ride. It's squared and opposed by planets that demand something realer than smoothing things over. Then the moon moves into Scorpio, and for the better part of 3 days, we're asked to feel what we've been avoiding feeling. Finally, we land in Sagittarius, where all that depth gets metabolized into meaning, philosophy, forward motion. There's also a quieter story running underneath all of this. Venus in Leo spends the week in conversation with Saturn, then later in Pallas and Vesta in Aries. This is devotion meeting discipline, and then devotion meeting wisdom and sacred focus. By Sunday, as Mars finally exits its long stay in Taurus and enters Gemini, we feel a literal gear shift from slow, embodied, stubborn energy into something quicker, more curious, and more mentally agile. The thread that ties it all together, this is a week where that surface level resolution won't hold. Whatever gets glossed over on Monday will resurface by Wednesday in Scorpio, demanding to be felt all the way through. And what survives that depth becomes wisdom we can actually use by the time we reach Sunday. So let's break this down day by day for your week ahead. Monday opens with the moon in Libra, and it's forming a trine to Juno retrograde in Aquarius in the very early hours. It's a quiet invitation before the day even begins to look honestly at what needs to transform in how we relate to others. By mid-morning, a sweet sextile between the moon and Venus in Leo adds warmth and a genuine desire to connect, to be seen, to share something beautiful. Around midday, Ceres and Gemini trines Juno retrograde in Aquarius, bringing a subtle nourishment to whatever transformation is already underway. This is a small supportive aspect, but it matters. It says you're allowed to be nurtured even while things are shifting underneath you. Then by late afternoon, the moon in Libra runs straight into an opposition with Saturn in Aries. This is our day's real test. Libra wants ease and agreement. Saturn wants accountability and structure. So don't be surprised if a conversation that started light turns into something that requires you to actually commit to a position. Sorry about that. So highs, morning connection, afternoon nourishment. Our lows, we have a late day friction around responsibility and some boundaries, but the tone overall is diplomatic, increasingly being tested. Tuesday, our day begins on a hopeful note. The sun in Cancer trines the North Node retrograde in Pisces in the pre-dawn hours, aligning our sense of self with our larger soul direction. Feelings and destiny kind of pointing the way for us here. But the afternoon brings real tension. The moon in Libra squares Mercury in Cancer just after lunch, making communication feel loaded. What's said, and what's felt don't feel like they're matching up easily today. A few hours later, that moon squares Jupiter in Cancer too, so it's amplifying emotional reactivity and making it really easy to overextend a feeling into a bigger story than it really needs to be. The day then settles into a lengthy void of course moon. It's over 2.5 hours, which is your built-in permission slip to stop forcing forward motion and just let the day come to rest. Our highs Tuesday, we have that early alignment between purpose and feeling. And then we've got our lows in the afternoon and evening communication friction. Our tone overall, though, is reactive, then deliberately quiet. Wednesday morning, just after midnight, the moon enters Scorpio and the emotional weather of the entire week shifts. Within the hour, the moon opposes Chiron and Taurus. Old wounds around safety, worth, and the body may surface without much warning. By early morning, though, the moon trines the North Node retrograde in Pisces, suggesting that even this discomfort is somehow aligned with where we're meant to be going. Just before sunrise, the moon trines the sun in Cancer as well, offering real emotional support underneath the intensity. You're not alone in what you're feeling today. By mid-morning, the moon squares Juno retrograde in Aquarius, and this is where the day asks us something serious and serious of us. What control are we still gripping onto, and what would it mean to actually let go? The highs Wednesday, we've got pre-dawn alignment and emotional support. Lows, we've got some midday confrontation with control and power. Overall, our tone for Wednesday is raw, but we're quietly held. Hi, I'm Stephanie from Immersive Spirit. I hope you're enjoying this week's Astrological Insights podcast. If you find that these dates resonate for you, or you just love astrology, I would love to book a reading with you and just explore your own chart. Whether it's a particular location you're interested in, whether it's looking at transits that are coming for you in the future and how there's certain dates that might align better than others, or maybe it's just knowing more about that beautiful space that you were born into and exactly how the stars aligned just for you at your time of birth. I would be honored to speak with you. Head to immersivespirit.com and look for our services. You'll find several options there waiting for you, and I'll be excited to talk with you and dig into your astrological chart. Now, back to our podcast. Thursday, the moon's in Scorpio is squaring Venus in Leo in those early morning hours, and it's creating a tension between what we desire privately and how we want to be seen publicly. So it's a pull between that intimacy that we have and performance. Soon after, Venus in Leo trines Saturn in Aries, offering something steadier. It's a reminder, right, that real love can also be disciplined, committed, and structurally sound. In the afternoon, the sun in Cancer squares Neptune in Aries, and it's blurring the line between emotional truth and realized fantasy. So be honest with yourself about what's real today versus what you're just hoping is real. The moon reaches its gibbous phase in Scorpio in the mid-afternoon, building toward fullness, toward that culmination that hasn't quite arrived yet, but it's close. Our highs on Thursday, so we're looking at morning devotion, meeting that discipline. The lows, we have some tension, right, between private desire and our public image. Overall, and then, and I don't want to forget, there could be some confusion in your afternoon, right, on Thursday. Tone overall, though, has an intense and kind of building, maybe a little hazy, kind of foggy feeling to it. Friday's going to open with ease. Woohoo! The moon in Scorpio is trining Mercury in Cancer before dawn, making it possible to say the deep thing without it landing too hard. Mid-morning brings an opposition between the moon in Scorpio and Mars in Taurus. And that's a pull between your emotional intensity and stubborn physical will. So it's the kind of day where you might feel torn between wanting to dive into a feeling and wanting to just dig in your heels instead. Shortly after, the moon trines Jupiter in Cancer, expanding that emotional generosity and offering some relief. A short void of course period follows, just over an hour and a half, before the moon enters Sagittarius around midday, and the entire mood of our week lifts. In Sagittarius, the moon squares the North Node retrograde in Pisces in the early afternoon, and it's going to ask us to reconcile our need for adventure with our deeper soul connection. Mid-afternoon brings a striking conjunction between Vesta and Pallas, and they're both in Aries, and it's that sacred devotion meeting strategic wisdom. It's a powerful combination of focus and intelligent action. Our evening is full on Friday, right? That moon opposes Uranus and Gemini. It's going to bring some sudden insight or unexpected restlessness, followed by a trine to Neptune and Aries that soften things into something a little more dreamy and inspired. And finally, a sextile to Juno retrograde in Aquarius, which supports that quiet transformation gratefully without much drama. Our highs for Friday, morning ease, midday expansion, and an evening inspiration. Our lows, we could have that mid-morning kind of tug of war between feeling and willpower. So the tone overall is restless at first, but then we feel increase in expansiveness. On Saturday, the moon in Sagittarius trines Saturn and Aries in the late afternoon, lending real staying power to whatever bigger version has been forming all week. This is a day that supports long-term commitments to growth and adventure. In the evening, Mars in Taurus sextiles Jupiter in Cancer, a supportive aspect between steady effort and emotional abundance. Good things can grow from patient, grounded action today. Late in the evening, the moon trines Venus in Leo, adding warmth, generosity, and genuine enjoyment to the day's closing hours. Then the moon's going to go void of course for over a full day, 26 hours, which is long, right? This isn't a day to force decisions or chase resolution. It's a day to let things simply be unfinished. Our highs for Saturday is that late afternoon commitment to growth, evening warmth, and abundance. The lows, there's really none significant for Saturday. It's a settling kind of integrative day overall. The tone, really Saturday, expansive, and then it's deliberately quiet and has a suspended feeling to it with that void of course moon. Our week closes gently on Sunday, and you'll be grateful when you have next week's astrology. In the early morning, Venus in Leo trines Pallas and Aries, that blending that heartfelt warmth with clear strategic insight. A few hours later, Venus trines Vesta in Aries as well, deepening that same energy into something more sacred. Devotion, not just as a feeling, but as a focused commitment. And then in the early afternoon, Mars finally leaves Taurus, where it's been settled for some time and enters Gemini. This is a real shift. That slow, deliberate, sometimes stubborn energy of Mars and Taurus gives way to something quicker, more curious, and more mentally restless. Whatever direction your wheel has been quietly building all week, it now wants to move and talk and explore and ask new questions. So, our highs for Sunday, we have that morning alignment of love, wisdom, and devotion. Again, not really any lows for Sunday. It's a forward moving close of the week kind of day. And the tone overall for Sunday is settled. And then you feel newly energized. So, let's zoom out. If there's one thing this week insists on from all of us, it's that we can't bypass our way to peace. That Libra energy that opens our week wants resolution, wants things to feel smooth and agreeable, but the universe keeps interrupting that wish with squares and oppositions that demand something more honest of us. By the time the moon moves into Scorpio, there's just no more pretending. Old wounds surface, power dynamics get examined, desire and image are going to pull against each other. And it's uncomfortable, but it's also where the real transformation lives. Because what's beautiful is what happens after. By the time we reach Sagittarius, all of that depth doesn't disappear. It gets woven into something larger, more philosophical, and more alive with possibility. And by Sunday, Venus's harmony with Vesta and Pallas suggests that real devotion isn't naive. It's been tested. It's been through the Scorpio underworld and come out on the other side wiser, not harder. This is a week about earning your peace rather than performing it. So, my question for this amazing community this week to consider as you move through the week ahead is this. Notice where in your life this week the surface level fix doesn't hold. And what did you discover underneath it? All right. Enjoy the powerful reminders ahead this week. And please make sure to subscribe, like, and share with other star lovers. I would be so grateful. And this is the final week. Do not forget to sign up for a free astrological chart reading with me. Oh, I almost said I couldn't get astrology or astrological. Free reading, right, with me. The last live drawing is this Friday. So this coming Friday at the 26th. The details to register are in the show notes. So please, please, please go down and register. Even if for some reason you don't win the drawing, you automatically are going to get a coupon for 50% off a reading. So, a great opportunity to go ahead and book your reading. And that's it for now. I'm Stephanie from Immersive Spirit with your weekly astrological insights. And until next week, stay grounded and keep looking up.